Hello, my dear friends. Welcome once again. In this presentation, we'll start with the new concept of representing LTI systems. In our last few presentations, we saw how to judge a system based on its properties. We studied almost all 5 properties on a system and how to identify each of those properties by carrying out various steps. Now we are well versed with identifying system of a particular property. Out of the 5 properties we discussed in detail, we'll be focusing mainly on first two properties, that is linearity and time invariance. Any system that possesses both linearity and time invariance property is said to be LTI system. Most of the system in hand will be LTI in nature. LTI systems are simple and straightforward for digital design. Hence, we'll be focusing only on those systems which possess these properties, and we'll be calling such systems as LTI systems throughout our discussion, or simply sometimes like system. Even if I don't use the prefix LTI, by default I mean it is LTI system. That is a system which is having both linearity and time invariance property, which is obeyed by those systems. Let us start once again. A system which is both linear and time invariant is called LTI system. There are different methods of representing LTI system in time domain. Our main focus of this presentation is to deal with one of the important representation, one of the many possible representation of LTI systems. Still now, we didn't represent system in a proper way so that we can use it for future design purposes. But now we'll be dealing with one such representation for those LTI systems. These time domain methods applies to both continuous time LTI and discrete time LTI systems. As you can see here, I'm representing by a black box. Input x of t, output y of t will be a continuous time LTI system. If the input and output are discrete functions of some variable, that is n, then such systems are discrete time but LTI systems. There are many methods of representing LTI systems in time domain. When I say time domain, I'll be representing those system as a function of time, continuous variable time. Of course, when I want to represent in a digital form, I should sample the time. So once again, the signal still remains in time domain only, but in the sampled form. Such systems are called as discrete time systems, continuous time and discrete time. That is independent variable will be a function of time in both cases. Another possible way is to see a system in frequency domain, that we'll see later in very future presentations. But in present presentation, we'll be focusing only time domain representation of both CT and DT LTI systems. First method of representation, the very popular, and we'll be studying with high focus, will be impulse response representation. So this presentation is all about impulse response presentation. What it is exactly we'll discuss later. The other possibility is you can always represent a LTI system either in differential equation, that is for continuous time systems, or difference equations in case of DT systems. They are actually counterpart, one in continuous variable domain, another is discrete variable domain. Both are time domain. One differential equation for CT systems and difference equation for DT systems. Another way of representing is in terms of block diagrams, which we are not discussing in this because of our syllabus. We'll be only focusing on impulse response representation. Few more methods are there, very specialized methods, but we'll be discussing only in some other area, not in our present subject. So out of the above three, as per our syllabus, we'll be discussing only impulse response representation, both CT LTI and DT LTI systems in the following. Now, before we go into understand what is impulse response representation and how to represent a given system, let us make one important study of representing discrete signal. Let us focus initially on discrete time system, though we should have started with continuous time system. To make the discussion simple, easy to understand, let us start with a discrete system first, representing discrete system in impulse response representation. To understand that, let us first study this. That is, an arbitrary signal can be expressed. An arbitrary signal can be expressed as a weighted superposition of shifted impulses. So this is an important understanding now, which is the foundation stone for understanding the impulse response representation for a discrete time system. So here arbitrary signal means any signal you can think of, maybe deterministic or non-deterministic, periodic, non-periodic, any signal, short duration or long duration. You can simply represent such arbitrary signal as a weighted superposition of shifted impulses. Let us see what is the meaning of that by taking some examples, that is practical examples. Let us see how, by taking one waveform or signal itself. Before we do that, let us recapitulate this important property of what is called impulse signal, impulse function. So the first property is, suppose if you multiply any arbitrary signal x of n with the delta n being a unit impulse, then result is another unit impulse of magnitude x at 0. So if you convert a long duration sequence signal by a single value, single sample impulse, which is not shifted, if you simply multiply, then what results is another impulse at the origin with an amplitude x of 0. Whatever this signal had the value at the origin, that is the amplitude of the resulting impulse function. This is an important property. That is, you're converting a long duration sequence into a single sample sequence at the origin. Entire signal becomes a single sample signal at the origin with the amplitude, the original value of the signal at the origin. Suppose if I multiply the signal with a shifted impulse, as it happens, x of n into delta n minus k. K is a shift given to the impulse function. Then once again that signal will be another impulse at that shifted location, with the amplitude being the value of the signal at that instant of k. That is, in both cases I am converting a signal x of n into an impulse of amplitude x of 0 if the original impulse function is unshifted, x of k if the unit impulse is shifted. So in both the cases, I am converting x of n into a single sample signal. This result already we have seen in the first chapter. I just brushed your memory in case you have forgotten. Okay, now let us take one short duration sequence having only few samples. That is, x of n is equal to -1, 2, 2, 1.5. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values. This is the 5 value signal, but we don't know where is the origin. If nothing is mentioned, we always assume the first signal is at origin and it is a right-sided sequence. But actually here the origin is this second sample. This is the origin. This is n is equal to 0. That means this sample belongs to n is equal to -1. This sample belongs to n is equal to 1. This sample n is equal to 2. N is equal to 3. It is a left-sided as well as right-sided sequence, but only 5 samples, n is equal to 5, short duration sequence. Now if I want to represent this in the form of a waveform, I can always do that. This is how the waveform looks like. You can see at the origin it is 2, next sample is at 1 it is 2, at 2 it is 1, at 3 it is 0.5, after all values are 0 till n is equal to infinity. At n is equal to -1, the value is -1. To left of that, the values are 0 till infinity. It is a short duration sequence having only 5 samples, origin at the second sample. This is exactly what I want to take for a case study. That is, I want to show this signal is nothing but, this signal can be constructed using impulses alone, as I show in the next slide. See, here in this slide, you have a close watch of this slide. See what exactly I have done. So I have taken x of n as a single graph. Then I'll split this graph into impulses. Each sample of this signal will be considered as a separate impulse. I'll construct separate signal out of this. There are 5 samples, no? I'll assume there are 5 impulses of shifted and magnitude modified. If I take first sample alone, that is, if I draw only first sample, this is an impulse basically with the equation delta n plus 1. Delta n plus 1 means that I am multiplying this x of n with the delta n plus 1. That is x of n into delta n plus 1. So this is nothing but another impulse with amplitude. What is the value of that original signal's amplitude at n is equal to minus 1? That is, see, it is minus 1, no? Therefore, resulting signal, when I multiply x of n with an impulse, it results in another impulse with a magnitude of the location of that impulse, that is minus 1. That is, by multiplying delta n plus 1 to this signal x of n, I am separating the first sample. Now, if I want to separate this sample, I should multiply this signal with what? X of n should multiply by delta n. If I multiply x of n with delta n, I can separate out this particular sample. That's what I do here. Say I'm multiplying the original signal with the delta n, so that resulting signal is a sample at the origin. See, x2 of n is a resulting signal which is obtained by multiplying x of n with the delta n. So it results in an impulse with the magnitude 2 at the origin, because I am multiplying the delta n for this signal. No? Therefore, only this sample separated out. Likewise, I'll go on multiplying this main signal with the different shifted impulses. Next impulse I'm going to multiply is delta n minus 1. See, delta n minus 1. That means the sample, that impulse occurring at n equal to 1. If I multiply delta n minus 1, delta n minus 1 with x of n, I can separate this sample. I separated here. Likewise, I am going on multiplying this original signal x of n with shifted impulses, so I separate out all the individual values. So I did that till the end. There are 5 values now. I got 5 different signals. See, x1 is the first signal, x2, x3, x4, x5. Each x1 to x5 are all impulses originating from the original signal. Now I am writing equation for these impulses. See, x of minus 1, delta n plus 1, x of 0, delta n, x of 1, delta n minus 1, and so on and so forth. So now what? If I add all these signals, see, x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 plus x5 is equal to the original signal. What I am going to show here is I can construct this original sequence by simply superposition of time shifted impulses. That's what I am going to write now in the form of the equation. See, this is what I get. X of n, that is original signal, can be written as superposition of or sum of time shifted weighted impulses. See, these are all equations of individual impulses. So this is actually the way I can write a original signal in the form of impulse function in a summated form. So same thing I am going to show it in a generalized form, as you can come to the next slide. Yeah, this is the original signal. This is how I write by using the impulse function. I'm separately writing for each sample, because there are only few samples. I'm writing this is possible. If there are so many samples, how to handle? There is a way for that. For each sample, I'm writing separate impulses. This plus this plus this plus, if I add all, it will result in this signal. See, this is what I write, which I can write in a mathematical form, in a shortened mathematical form, using the summation symbol as this. See, now x of n is nothing but x of k delta n minus k. Delta n minus k is the shifted impulse. K ranging from minus 1 to 3, because the signal starts at minus 1, ends at 3, therefore range of the signal is this. Because it is a short duration sequence, I get this kind of equation. Suppose if the signal is of long duration, or it is defined for all the values of n up to n is equal to plus infinity, from n is equal to minus infinity, for everywhere signal is defined, it is a full duration signal with all values defined. So how to write the equation in a summated form using impulse? So that means I am going to generalize this equation for duration, infinite duration sequence. That's what I'm going to do next. In general, any discrete time signal, see, I'm using the word any. In general, any discrete time signal x of n can be expressed as exactly this. Now this is actually our main foundation to understand impulse response representation and its usage in representing LTI system. I'm writing signal, the input signal, as a weighted sum of time shifted impulses. A signal is a weighted sum. Weighted means I am weighing at each position, I am weighing the signal amplitude and then adding from plus minus to plus infinity all the possible values of n. Even for a short duration signal I can still write like this, but many of the values will be zeros. So there is a limit for such signal, where this is for an unlimited signal. X of n is equal to summation k ranging from minus to plus infinity x of k into delta n minus k. Okay, now this is the basis I told you. No, I'm using this expression for representing a discrete signal. No, I'll be always representing in this form in my future explanations in this presentation. See what I do now. Next thing we're going to see is here actually I want to tell this point. X of n is entire signal. X of n is entire signal. X of k is specific value of the signal x of n at k. That's what it means. X of k and x of n. X of k n is entire signal. X of k is the specific values of this signal x of n at instance k, where this impulse is present. That is weights of these impulses. Let us move to the next slide. Okay, now comes the important study, what we are set out for. Representation of discrete time LTI system in terms of impulse response. How to represent a given discrete time linear time invariant system using impulse response, then how to make use of it in signal analysis, system analysis. That's what we're going to study now. Okay, now this is already done in the previous slide. Any discrete time signal x of n can be expressed in general as a weighted sum of time shifted impulses. This is exactly what we did in our previous discussion. So you'll use this for understanding the impulse response representation. Sorry, I was getting a phone call here. I cut it. Okay, yeah, let's continue. Yeah, now let us continue on this. Consider a discrete time LTI system as shown in figure below. So this is what my system till now I used to represent. A discrete time system I can represent as a box with the input signal x of n, output signal y of n. Now this box is a system. I'm calling normally like a black box, but here I'm using an operator T. You know, a system is nothing but a mathematical operator that transforms an input signal into output signal. That's how a system is normally defined in signal analysis. Any mathematical transformation system that transforms an input signal into an output signal. Normally I was using the letter H here. No, in my previous presentations I was using the letter H. So now I will stop using that. Instead of that, I will use the letter T. T stands for transformation. It is not Fourier transform, Laplace transform kind of thing, but it is something else. It is a general meaning of transformation. A system that transforms input signal to output signal form. T is the operator that operates on the input to get the output. So what are the various definitions of this system? Here x of n is the input, y of n is the output, and T with a dot in the flower bracket is system operator. This dot actually is unknown. It depends on the type of system in hand. Just to say that it is not void, they have put some dot here. T is a system operator. Now for this T, no, I'm getting a proper form. This is improper form, I can say, because I don't know what it is. I'm going to represent this T by using some definite rule. That's what this discussion is all about. Let us see what it is. Now I can write this diagram also in the expression form like this. That is normally y of n is nothing but t of x of n. That is, if I give the signal input to operator t, I'll get the output y. The meaning of this is the diagrammatic form, this is the expression form. Okay, now let us move to the next slide, wherein we will try to understand what is the meaning of impulse response as far as this LTI system is concerned. Now I forgot to tell this system is having a property linearity and time invariance. This system obeys both linearity property and time invariance property. Then only impulse response representation is useful for us. Yeah, let us try to understand more on impulse response now. Okay, what is impulse response? See, the terminology itself is quite clear, no? Impulse response. Response means what? It is output. When the input is impulse. When the excitation or input is impulse. When I give an unit impulse to the system, what is its response? Is nothing but impulse response. That's what diagrammatically explained here. We can see now for a given system T, as a special case, let the input be x of n is equal to delta n, an unit impulse. I am writing x of n as delta n, nothing but an unit impulse. Then whatever I get y of n is called as unit impulse response. That is, when the input is unit impulse, its output is response, unit impulse response. I am going to use a very important notation now, h of n. H of n you are going to live with now all the time, this h of n. What is the meaning of h of n? H of n is the output of the system when input is impulse. See, h of n is nothing but it is counterpart of y of n. When delta n becomes a counterpart of x of n. When x of n input is impulse, then output is its response, impulse response. Now this impulse response is made use of for representing the system. That is the speciality of our discussion now. That is, impulse response is nothing but output when the input is impulse. Please keep this in mind. I repeated many times just to stress upon it, so that it is an important thing you have to keep in mind hereafter. Okay, and now how to show in an expression form. This is what I'm going to show, a diagrammatic form first. See here, what I'm doing is I'm giving delta n unit impulse as the input, then output is h of n, that is what impulse response. More specifically, see, when input is of this wave shape, see, it's an impulse, no? This is an impulse graph. You can see only one value whose value is 1 unit. Only at the origin it is defined. Rest everywhere it is 0. For all other values of n other than origin, its value is 0. For all other values, n may be anything, it is 0. Only at the origin it is 1. It is a special signal called impulse. More specifically unit impulse, because its value is 1. It can be 2, 3, 4 also. Then it is not called as unit impulse. It is simply called as an impulse. Now it is called unit impulse because value is 1 at the origin. When this is going to the input, what is the output? Whatever I get, that depends on the system, what kind of system I am having. Output can be anything. That output is nothing but impulse response. For example, an output can be like this. See, when I give one unit impulse, system may give out like this. Now this is actually finite duration, no? Only 3 samples are there. One origin is 2, it suddenly rose, the next sample became 1, and next sample became -1 or whatever negative value, then suddenly disappeared. I think all other values are zeros. So it's a short duration impulse response. Sometimes impulse response may be infinite. Sometimes impulse response may be finite. That depends, everything depends on the system. One class of systems which are called FIR system, finite impulse response systems. They belong to one class wherein if you give one impulse, output will be of finite duration, maybe 10, 15, 20, 100 samples, only it will stop then. But there is another type of system with the recursion, a kind of feedback, that is output sample being fed back to input to get the overall input. In such systems, once you give the impulse input, output can be everlasting. It may go, the samples may be even up to n is equal to infinity, samples may keep appearing. Such systems are called as IIR systems. So based on impulse response, a system can be finite impulse, FIR, or infinite impulse response systems. But you will be more focusing on finite impulse response, FIR systems. That comes to you when you study DSP subject in the next semester. No? Now let us not give much importance for that. Whenever you give an impulse input, it results in some output. That is nothing but impulse response. Let us understand more on this. Now, what is the benefit of this understanding? That's what all about. Now I am going to represent a system by means of impulse response. Now in this case, no, this signal h of n, shape can be anything. In this case I have taken this as an example, simply represents this t, no, whatever is simply represented by this h of n. What is the proof? What is the meaning of that? The meaning of that is, once you know the impulse response for a LTI system, you can find the output of that system for any type of input by using a process called convolution. Once again, I'll repeat. Once you have a LTI system, discrete time LTI system or continuous time LTI system, also same thing holds good. Now in case it is discrete time LTI system, if you know its impulse response, that is by giving an impulse, if you know how it responds, and if you take this as a record, now this record, the data, completely represents the LTI system. You need not have it any longer. You can only use this for representing this. Now for this system, we can find the output y of n for any input x of n just by using h of n. That's what I'm going to prove now in the following discussion. By doing a process called convolution, I can get y of n by simply using impulse response, or by convolving the input signal x of n, be it anything, with h of n, I'm going to find y of n for a LTI system. That's all about impulse response representation of LTI system, which I'll explain further in this discussion. I am going to show the proof for that. How using impulse response you can represent a LTI system. That's what our next derivation or proof is all about. Let us proceed further. So this is what I was explaining till now. See, if I give delta n as an input to the system, I'm going to get h of n. H of n is called as impulse response of the system. Delta n is the input, h of n is output. When delta n is the input, then h of n is output, which is called impulse response. See, I'm repeating many number of times. You may be irritated, but I'm purposefully doing that just to put a word in your brain so that it remains forever. Because many people won't understand exactly what is the meaning of impulse response. Many average people, but good people maybe, so highly intelligent people will understand the first example itself, but I'm assuming that we are all average people. Yes. Impulse response of the system. So definition, impulse response of a DT-LTI system is denoted by h of n and is defined as a response of the system when the input to the system is unit impulse. This is what I repeatedly told. Once again I wrote here. Now okay, we have this general equation y of n is equal to t of x of n. What I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute this h of n by using this expression. See, same expression I'm repeating here, rewriting here. See, I'm writing here. This is what result actually I'm writing here. In the place of x of n, I'm writing summation x of k delta n minus k from the previous result. No, see, t bracket start, then x of n is replaced by this whole thing. This I can do, no? This I can do because I am representing input signal by weighted superposition of shifted impulses, time shifted impulses. Okay, now interesting thing come here. Okay, now this system T, no, whatever the system we land, we consider it is linear as well as time invariant. And that's why we took that system here, just to represent using impulse response. That is, this system obeys both properties of time invariance and linearity. Because it is linear, I can also rewrite this expression. I can rewrite this expression in this form. See what I did here. See the equation. I forgot numbering this equation, but whatever. This compare this equation and this equation. You just compare these two. What I'm doing. See, I'm taking t inside. See, I'm taking this t, this entire system inside up to here. See, up to here. I'm taking over here. See what I'm doing. Y of n is equal to t of delta x of k, summation x of k delta n minus k. I'm writing as summation of x of k t delta n. So this is because of linearity property of the system. See what actually it means is, to find the output of a linear system, I can add all the individual impulses. Then make a full signal, then apply that into the system. I'll get the output. Or I can simply apply only impulses to the system T. Instead of applying all the impulses, I can apply impulses directly to the T, then weigh it, then add the response, individual responses. Now this is nothing but response of the system for individual impulses. I'll get different individual impulse responses, then I'll add it. I'll get the output. Or I will add all the impulses, then I add to the system. Then both are same. Either I can add all the impulses, then apply to the input, then I'll get the output. Or I can add all the impulse responses, then get the responses for those impulses. I'm sorry, once again, I can add all the impulses. I can add the individual impulses. I can give the individual impulses to the system. then add all the responses. How for individual impulse, how the system responds, then weigh it, then add it. Then also output, we get both outputs are same. This is what is actually linearity property. You get, again go back to some previous presentation where I explain what exactly is linear property. Then I think it will be more clear for you. Let us move on with this. Okay, now rewrite the equation here. I rewrite the equation here using the linearity property. I can rewrite this equation over here. Yeah, I can rewrite the equation here. See, what I'm going to do is now what is the meaning of T of delta n minus k? What is the meaning? Okay, this is what I want to explain. In equation 4 above, T of delta n minus k corresponds to the operation the system performed on time shifted impulse. See, actually what is the meaning of delta n minus k? Delta n minus k is nothing but time shifted impulse. I'm giving, see, when I give delta n, what is the output? H of n, isn't it? For the system operator T, if I give delta n, what is the output? H of n, impulse response. Now, if the same impulse is delayed by a sample k, say it is delayed up to 5 samples, it is delayed or advanced, whatever, then what will be the output? Because I know it is a LTI system, it also obeys time invariance property. Whether I apply impulse now or later or before or after, whenever, the response remains same because system is time invariant. Its behavior doesn't change with respect to time. It behaves in a similar way. Whether I apply the impulse now, later, 1 hour later, 1 day later, 10 days later, the response is going to remain same. Response also will get delayed by the same amount. That's what this discussion is all about. T delta n is equal to h of n. If it is a condition, then T delta n minus k is equal to h of n minus k. This is because of the time invariance property. Now what I'm going to do is, see, this T of delta n minus k is there, no? I'm going to replace this by h of n minus k. Then it results in a very, very important equation. See what I did here. Whatever in the expression 4, no? In expression 4, wherever this T of delta n minus k is there, no? I'm replacing by h of n minus k. Now this is the result I was waiting for. See, output is nothing but it is sum of time shifted weighted impulse responses, which is called as convolution sum. That is, for a LTI DT LTI system, if you know what is impulse response, then simply by performing convolution sum or simply by superimposing time shifted weighted impulse responses, I will get the output. So this is a very, very, very important result what you just now got by just having the property of linearity and time invariance. I got this. So I'll be thrusting more importance on this particular result I got out of our discussion. I can represent same thing in another way, in the formula way. That means we can symbolically, this expression, the all important expression can symbolically written as y of n is equal to convolution of x of n with the h of n. That is, if I know the impulse response of a LTI system, DT LTI system, simply by performing convolution, this symbol is convolution actually, this asterisk, no? It is used for by convolving h of n with the x of n, I'll get y of n. This x of n can be anything, any signal you can think of. You simply convolve that with h of n, then you'll get output y of n. You don't have to have the system now. The physical system is insignificant now. I can represent that with h of n, an equation. Now system hardware becomes another signal, a equation. It is also signal, no? I am representing system by a signal. See, it's very interesting. I am representing system by signal h of n, which is impulse response. In that impulse response, if I convolve with h of n, I am going to get y of n. Output of the system is nothing but convolution of h of n with the x of n, which can be expanded in this formula. Now I can club these two. These two I can club. I'll write single formula. See, y of n for a DT LTI system, y of n is equal to x of n convolution h of n. How to carry out the convolution operation? Just use this formula. What this formula tells all about? Can you just throw light on it? See, what actually happening is you are multiplying x of k's with the h of n minus k. So in this case, actually k is a variable. See, summation k ranging from minus to plus infinity, k is a variable. For every value of y at every instant n, you simply multiply x of k and h of n minus k. For example, you want to find the value of y at origin. Y of n is a signal, no? You want to find the value of y at n is equal to 0. What do you do for getting the value of y at n is equal to 0? Put n is equal to 0 here. When you put n is equal to 0, this whole thing becomes h of minus k. If you want to find the value of y at the origin, output at the origin, it is simply multiplication of x of k and h of minus k. What is h of minus k? Now k is nothing but like n only. K ranges from minus to plus infinity. Now in the place of n you have got k. That means it is equivalent of x of n multiplying with the h of minus n, something like that. That is, you are multiplying a regular input signal with the time reversed impulse response. What you do is to carry out this convolution operation. No, you simply get the original signal x of n, write it as x of k, then get the h of n, then time reverse it to get h of minus k, then multiply, add. If you want to find any other value of y at any other value of n, then shift that value. That is, this operation is nothing but shifting, that is time reversal, shifting, multiplying, adding. So it's somewhat it's actually arithmetic operation, but so many things are involved. To get the output at any value of n, you have to simply time fold one of the signal, that is h of n, multiply the x of n, then add all the multiplied products. So what is convolution? Many people ask me, what is convolution? To say in a simple way, convolution can be defined as time reversing, shifting, multiplying, adding operation all in one. Now if I explain this way only, you may be totally confused. I will explain along with the problem solution, then it will be more clear, I think. So as we move further, we will be solving problems on this convolution. In this presentation itself, I will be taking up one example wherein you will be definitely understanding more on this. Now let us recapitulate what is studied so far and try to summarize. We have come to an important conclusion now, that is, for a LTI system, DT-LTI system, we can obtain the output of that system for any input by using what is called as convolution sum. This entire formula is called as convolution sum, convolution operation, symbolically which is shown as this. So it's the like addition, you got plus symbol, subtraction you got minus symbol, multiplication you got into symbol, x symbol, division you got another symbol, convolution you got this symbol. Now convolution is actually it has addition in it, multiplication in it, and time reversal, shifting, everything getting involved. It's a complicated operation which can be understood only by problem solutions, as you do in the next discussions. Let us move on to the next slide. Okay, here once again I forgot to give the definition. So definition you can just read it. Hence the output of a DT-LTI system is given by a weighted superposition of time shifted impulse responses, and this very weighted superposition is called as convolution sum for a discrete time system. Please read the sentence once again, try to understand and try to relate it to the steps we have taken to reach to this particular expression. Let us move on to the next slide after that. I am giving some time, please read it once again and try to understand what exactly happening. You can pause the video also anytime. See, that is one best thing you can do. You can pause the video if you want to see some screen for some more time. If you want to understand the equation more, you want to digest, you look at the equation more, pause the screen, then have a look at the equation, then continue watching the video. Okay, let us move on to the next slide. Now let us try to recapitulate whatever you have discussed so far. This is what the system is. That is, this is the way I want to represent now. For any DT-LTI system, represented by its impulse response h of n. See, I was using TH everything. No, now I have a particular usage. I can definitely represent system by h of n, but only condition is the system must be linear and time invariant. Then only, otherwise it won't give the desired result. So most of the system we will be discussing will be LTI, linear and time invariant. For such system, I can always represent using h of n. Once you know the h of n, for any x of n, if you want to find y of n, how to get y of n from x of n if you know h of n? Simply use convolution. Simply use convolution. You convolve this h of n with the x of n. What is convolution? That's what you're going to see in the next formula. See, output y of n is x of n convolution h of n. Here This is a formula of convolution. So this is convolution operation. This is the convolution sum formula to use to have this operation done. Okay, now let us recapitulate all the points we discussed. Just read it. It is self-explanatory. I'll just go on reading it. You just listen to my voice. Output of a DT-LTI system for an unit impulse input is called impulse response, denoted by h of n. Output of a DT-LTI system is given by weighted sum of time-shifted impulse responses. This is very important sentence. Output of a DT-LTI system is given by the weighted sum of time-shifted impulse responses. See, it is a time-shifted impulse response, no? Time-shifted impulse response, weighted sum of, this is the meaning, weighted sum of time-shifted impulse responses is nothing but output of the system. Output y of n of a DT-LTI system can be determined for any arbitrary input x of n once the impulse response h of n is known for the system by using this formula convolution. That is, y of n is equal to h of n convolution h of n, x of n convolution h of n, which is expanded into formula over here. Okay, now to understand what convolution is all about, let us try to solve one problem. I think then only it will be more clear for you. Let us see the next slide. Application of convolution, an example. Okay, now try to understand this slide. Okay, try to understand this slide. See what's happening here. I have taken a system. Okay, see DT-LTI system. Its impulse response is marked here. See, graph is there, no? This is the impulse. When I gave an impulse for this system, no, this was how it responded. I don't know what system it is, but when I gave one impulse, unit impulse, it had only 3 values, starting at origin, then at 1, then at 2. 1 is 2, 1, it started decreasing, largely decreasing, even became negative, then suddenly stopped, everything else became 0. This is how it is. I don't know what it is, but it happened so. Now this impulse response represents the system. For this system, if I apply this input, what is the output? That is a problem at hand. That is, for a system with impulse response like this, or values of impulse response written like this, 2, 1 and -1, if this is the impulse response, for this system, if this is the input x of n, what is the output? If for this input, what is the output? That's what my aim is now to find out by using convolution. Okay, now there is alternate way of writing these signals. Okay, this is a graph. No, I can also write this graph in this form. See, I can write the x of n as summation of impulses, as I did in the first part of the discussion. Always a signal x of n can, for each impulse, no, I can represent its equivalent, then add. Here also I can do the same. This is another way of writing the discrete signal when it is of short duration. Okay, now let us try to understand more about the impulse response and the property LTI. Before I solve this problem, I will eat your head a little by giving more and more information regarding impulse response LTI property and why I can represent a DT-LTI system with impulse response. What is the proof for that? I am going to show in this demonstration. Then I will solve the problem. See what I do. Actual meaning of impulse response. I am taking the system here. I am writing again by using some operator T. I don't know what it is. For this system, that is for this system, when I gave this input, see, unit impulse input. See, unit impulse means it is a value 1 at the origin. All other values are 0. Only one value at the origin, 1. All of this is unit impulse. When I gave this input, this is how I responded. Therefore, this system is replaced by this now. See, that's what I have done here. See, in the system, no, I'm not using this operator T, because I know by now sure definitely what is the response for impulse. The impulse, its impulse response itself will represent the system. I don't have to use T. Now T means it's not clear, no, what it is, but now it is quite clear. When I gave the impulse, how the system responded, impulse response. This is what it represents. Now the system is LTI property, no? Because of LTI property, see what all happens. You try to understand this demonstration, what I'm going to do in the next slide. Then I think you'll be more understanding the solution to this problem. See what I've done in this slide. These are all separate, same system. Suppose when I gave the impulse, at the origin, output was this. I don't know what system it is. I gave the impulse at origin 1, I output of this. Now if I had given this impulse 1 unit ahead, 1 time unit ahead, instead of giving at n is equal to 0, if I had given at n is equal to -1, same impulse, what would have been the result? The result would have been same, but only thing is it would have been advanced by one sample. See, it starts at 0 because impulse was at 0, was at 0. Now because impulse starts at -1, output started at -1 here also. See, started -1, then 2, 1, 1. It got shifted. When I shift the impulse backward by one sample, output is same. Output is same because it is a time invariant. No, because it is time invariant. If I shift the input by one sample, output shift by one sample. Shape remains same. There is no change in shape. Okay, now suppose I invert it. I shifting and inverting it. See here from this value I shifted back one sample, then invert it. What is the response? It is same as this but inverted. Because I am inverting it, because it is time invariant and linear, if I do whatever I do at the input, same thing happens to the output. See, this also got inverted. It got advanced. It also got advanced. It got inverted. This also see compare this and this. Compare this output and this output. It is totally inverted because input is inverted because it is linear and time invariant. Okay. Now suppose instead of applying the unit impulse at n is equal to 0, if I had applied 1 unit later, if I delay instead of advancing, if I had delayed it, if I delayed it further, what would have been the output? Output would have been the same. Output also would have been delayed. See, whatever is there getting delayed because it is time invariant. If I shift the input right, output also gets shifted right by the same amount. If I shift by 3 units, here also it shift by 3 units, but shape remains same. Okay, now if I decrease amplitude, if I instead of giving 1, if I give 0.5, because it is linear, no? I reduce the amplitude at 1 delayed. Same thing reduces. See, 2 becomes 1, 1 becomes 0.5, -1 becomes -0.5. Because input got reduced, output also gets reduced with a similar amount. If I had increased amplitude, if I had made it 2, then this value would also doubled of this. This would have been 4, this would have been 2, this would have been -2. So whatever I do, either delay or shift backward, shift forward, change amplitude, shape remains same. Only change, whatever changes I do here at the input, same change occurs at the output. If I delay, here also get delayed. If I advance, here also get advanced. If I invert, here also it gets inverted. If I reduce amplitude, here also amplitude gets reduced. If I had increased amplitude, here also amplitude get increased. Whatever I do at the input, same thing happens at the output because the system is linear as well as time invariant. This is the important result because of which this system can be solely represented by impulse response. Now let us start solving the problem, and it is really interesting. See this slide. This slide may look a little bit heavy for you because so many. I took a lot of time making this slide. Okay, I spent nearly half a day, I should say, because I am not that much good with the PowerPoint. I only learned recently, but I am using all the tools now, whatever is available. I was very happy by the end of this PPT. Okay, when I made this PPT, particular PPT, no, I was so confident. I can show you all future complicated things in an animated way, in a even nicer way. I can show that much confidence I have now. This slide I took a lot of time to make. Okay, just have a look at it. What I am actually doing here. See, now my question is this. Question was this. This is the system with impulse response. If when I give this input, what is the output? I have a system with impulse response h of n. When I give this kind of input, what is the output? Yeah, it is possible. I told you, once you know the impulse response of a system, just by using convolution process, we can find the output. See, what you have to do is this. To find the y of n, you simply convolve h of n with x of n. This graph and this graph you convolve. Using equation, using graph, whatever way, you just convolve them, you'll get the output. How to convolve? For using this formula. Okay, now what I'm doing here is I'm not going to use this formula. Rather, I will show you practically what is the meaning of this formula. I'll use this formula definitely when I convolve long duration sequences. Now, fortunately for me, both the sequences are of short duration, and incidentally, both are of number of sample size 3. N1 is 3, N2 is 3. So it's such a short duration sample. For such convolution, no, there are other shortcut methods. I'll be using those shortcut methods. Okay, this problem I'm solving by two methods. In first method, I'll be calling graphical method. In exam also they may ask a graphical method. And another method I'm going to follow to verify the result is matrix method. That I'll do immediately after this slide. In graphical method, I'm showing everything graphically. In matrix method, I will show mathematical operation. But another method is by using the formula, convolution itself. This I will reserve for convolving long duration sequences. Suppose if number of samples in x of n is more, say 100, 200, or even 1000, or even infinite. In that case, I cannot use the graphical or the matrix method because it is highly laborious. Lots of time is required and meaningless. I can make it shortcut by using the formula. But for a very short duration sequences, as of this, I need not use the formula. I will just use graphical method, then matrix method. See, what I'm doing is, I've written all the system again and again, okay, all this. Now, my question is, for this system, with the impulse response h of n 2, 1, minus 1, what will be its output when input is minus 1, 1, 0? So this signal actually is non-causal because it starts at minus 1. No, it has got left side part, right side part. Origin is this one. This is one origin. This is the before origin, after origin. Three samples are there. Right sided as well as left sided. Both sides are there. For this signal, what is the output? What I'm going to do is I'm going to split this entire signal into impulses. See, the first signal I'm writing separate impulse. Then second, I write another impulse, and third signal separate impulse. I'm writing x1, x2, s3, nothing but three samples. That is, I took this sample at minus 1, so I write it here. All other samples are zeros. I took the second sample, I write it to origin. All other samples are zeros because I'm converting this sequence into impulse. And last sample at n is equal to 1, I wrote here x3. Now by using impulse, impulse response knowledge, I'm going to find the output of the system when impulses act alone. See, I have shown in the previous demonstration, no? See, now for unit impulse, the output was this. For when I give unit impulse to the system, output was this. Now, if the impulse is advanced and inverted, what will be the output? That is, when I gave a unit impulse, I got this h of n. Now, if I had given the same unit impulse by advancing and inverting, what would have been the output? Yeah, this is the result. See, same impulse response, it's advanced, it starts at 0, no? It starts at 0. Now this starts at minus 1, it is advanced and inverted. Because the input sequence is, input sample is advanced and inverted, same thing happens to this output impulse response. That is the output. That is, it is advanced by 1 unit, then inverted. This h of n is advanced by one sample. All the samples are shifted left, then inverted. See what's happening here? Because input is like that. Okay, next input I'm going to give is 1. So it is as it is. See, it is 1 because in the signal itself 1 is there. No, that 1 I am giving. See, this is nothing but unit impulse itself. Then what is this output? Same. See, whatever is there. Because h of n itself is a unit impulse response. No, when I gave unit impulse as the input, I got this. If I give again unit impulse as the input, output is the same thing. For this unit impulse, because fortunately for me, this input signal had one central value which is unit impulse. For this, output should be same, no modification. Okay, now third value is 2. This sample is actually how it is different from unit impulse. How this signal is different from unit impulse. It's delayed by one sample and its amplitude increased by factor of 2. See, this h of n I got for unit impulse, no, when the input is unit impulse. If the unit impulse is delayed by one sample, then expanded by 2 plus 2, it is amplitude increased by 2. What is the effect of the output? What is the output? The output is, when one unit impulse output is this, what is the output for this? Nothing but delayed version, then expanded version by 2. All values should multiply by 2. All values should delayed. See, delayed is there. See, it is delayed by one sample because starts at 1, no, delayed by one sample. Then all values are multiplied by 2 because of time invariance and linearity property. When the input impulse is delayed and multiplied by 2, same thing should happen to the impulse response. It is delayed and multiplied by 2. Now it is interesting. See, when I add this input, this input, this input, what am I going to get? Overall input. Because this only I split, no. This input signal only I split here, here and here. Now, if I add this first value plus second value plus third value, if I add, what is equivalent to this? This, nothing but this. Now, likewise, if I add y1 because of x1, y2 because of x2, y3 because of x3, what I get? I'll get y of n. That is, if I give all the impulses simultaneously, individually when I give the impulses, no, this was the individual responses for the individual impulses. If I give all the signals simultaneously like this, then all the sample responses gets added up. That's what convolution is all about. It is the summation of time shifted impulse responses. It's time shifted and scaled. These are nothing but time shifted and scaled impulse responses. Because this is scaled here, this is also scaled, this is unscaled. Time shifted and scaled impulses are to be added to get the output. That's what I did. When the input samples are added, output response are also added. This is the output. That means if this is the input, then this is the output. For this input, this is the output. For this input, this is the output. This is the system. This is the system. This is the system I had. I had a system with impulse response h of n. I know it. I knew it, and also I knew that it is LTI system. Therefore, I simply convolved. Graphically, I convolved by splitting this input signal into a number of impulses. I found the individual responses, then added them. So for this input, this is the output. Very simple, magical. Now this input can be anything. Anything you can take at the input, any number of samples. You can do same thing. You split the input signal into number of impulses, then find the responses separately, then add the responses. You'll get the response because of the overall signal applied. So easily graphically done, no? See, when x of n is -1, 1 and 2, output is -2, 1, 6, 1 and -2. Its length is more. Its length became more because of convolution. Input is only 3 samples. Output is 6 samples. What's the relationship between them? We'll see that next. Okay, now same problem I'm going to solve by matrix method. It is very interesting and straightforward. Okay, you can always try this matrix method. Even a dullest of the dull can understand this matrix method. See what I'm going to do in the matrix method. I will animate the screen one by one. Characters will appear. You'll understand, I think, more precisely. Then I'll again explain on it. Please look into the next slide. It is self-explanatory. Matrix method of discrete time convolution. This method is useful when short duration sequences are to be convolved. Like we had the problem in hand, no? Only samples were 3 and 3. Input signal was 3 samples, output signals again 3 samples. Like that, only on finite, say 7, 8, 10 samples are there means we can always do this. Otherwise, it is very laborious task. It's better to go for other methods like graphical or even the formula method. We'll see later that formula method. Okay, now how to carry out the matrix method for finding convolution? You see all the steps are explained very neatly. Just have a watch at the screen. You take the input sequence. X of n is equal to -1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, n1 is 3 sample, number of samples 3. Then you take here origin is this middle sample, as you saw in the previous graph also. This is the origin, left sided value, right sided value. Okay, now impulse response. Okay, here I'm not going to mark this arrow. Okay, if I don't mark the arrow, what is the meaning of? Where is the origin? Origin is first sample. By default, if nothing is marked, no, when you draw the graph, the first sample itself is the origin. If something is marked, then marked portion is the origin. Here I had to mark because origin is not the first sample. Whereas here I am not marking, that means first sample is the origin. Again, n2 is 3, number of samples. Then let us draw a matrix out of these values. Okay, out of 6 values, 3 plus 3, let us draw the matrix. See how the matrix is drawn. Horizontal line, vertical line, separator, then x of n. Here you write, sorry, I'll go back. Okay, h of n. Here you write all the x of n values. Okay, that is the column head. Column head is samples, -1, 1 and 2. You write. That is h of n is here. Yeah, you write -1, 1, 2. That is values of x of n, -1. Then here as a as a row heading, you write h of n values. Here minus 1, 1, 2, and here 2, 1, minus 1. Now what you do know, you simply multiply 2 into minus 1. Here it is minus 2. 2 into 1. Here it is 2. 2 into 2. Here it is 4. Like that, 1 into minus 1. So it is minus 1. 1 into 1. So it is 1. 1 into 2. So it is 2. Minus 1 into minus 1. So it is 1. Minus 1 into 1. So it is minus 1. Minus 1 into 2. It is minus 2. This is how you fill the matrix. Same thing I am doing here. See, 2, 2, 4, minus 1, that thing. Now it is interesting. Now see, you just join like this, okay? This one, first value is minus 2, then minus 1 and 2, add it, plus, add it, plus. This is an example, minus 1 and 2, that is 1. Then this line, 1, 1, 4, isn't it? It is 6. That is, next value is 1 plus 4, 6. Then minus 1 and 2, you add it, that is it is 1. Minus 1 plus 2 is 1. Then last value is minus 2. This is what I am going to do. See, this is the first sample. First sample in the output is minus 2. Next sample in the output is next sample is minus 1 plus 2, so it results in 2. Next sample is 1 plus 1 plus 4, that is 6. Next is minus 1 plus 2, 1. Last is minus 2. See actually what I am going to get now. See, this is what. If I convolve x of n, h of n, this is the output. Minus 2, 1, 6, 1, minus 2. See, minus 2, 1, 6, 1 and minus 2. This is what the here. Now where is the origin here? How to fix the origin? To fix the origin, it is interesting. You count the number of samples in this left of the origin. How many samples are there? Only one. Only one sample, no? Here actually this is the origin. Okay, here this is the origin, okay? This is the origin. How many samples are to the left of the origin? 0. So here one sample is there, here 0. So how many samples should be there to the left of the origin in the output? That is 1 here, 0 here, 1 plus 0. So only one sample. That means this is the origin. This is the origin. Because only one sample is present. Number of samples from here you see. Here how many samples? Here only one sample is there to left of the origin. Here 0 samples. So it is 1 plus 0. So one sample here. That is origin is this. This is the origin. This is the origin. You can see in the graph also the same as the origin. Now how many output samples result? How many output sample result? In the input I had 3 plus 3 sample. How many output sample? The formula is the number of sample in the output n is number of samples of the output n is equal to n1 plus n2 minus 1. So according to formula, n1, that is 3 plus 3, 6 minus 1, 5. So 5 samples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 samples are. This is the formula to remember. The number of output samples when convolution takes place is nothing but number of samples in the first signal plus number of samples in the second signal minus 1. That is, in this case, is equal to 5. That is what you are going to see in the next. This is the origin. See, this is the origin and this is the formula. Number of samples in the output sequence y of n is 5. I am coming to the end of this presentation. I hope you understood an important concept of convolution, that is discrete time LTI system. Output can be obtained by convolving impulse response with the input signal, and the process is called as convolution sum. I'll be giving some examples to in order to for you to try. One example I'll give as an assignment for in the PPT. I'm sending along with the link. Please solve it. Solve by using graphical method as well as matrix method. Tally the result and submit the assignment today itself. I'll be giving one assignment in this and one or two assignments in the previous video presentation. So only 2-3 questions you have to answer. You have to submit the assignment by today evening before 8 o'clock, at or before 8 o'clock itself. I may be available for discussion using WhatsApp. You can send the doubts, or I can personally call you also. If you request me, I will call you. You just give a request in WhatsApp group or SMS. I will call your number and clarify your doubt. Okay, please take it seriously, because this is a very important concept you are starting, which will be continued for further studies in the next presentations. I am going to end this. I'll be again coming back in one more presentation. There are many more presentations to follow. Thank you once again.